Good afternoon, and welcome to the Wednesday afternoon conference call with Trusts Unlimited. This is Jim George speaking. I'm the non-attorney spokesman and facilitator for Trusts Unlimited, and I'd like to thank all of you for taking the time to listen to this call. Today is March 19th, and there's a hell of a lot going on. And it's going to be coming at us from a lot of different angles and directions here. So what I'm going to discuss largely will be in my own opinion, but it's going to be based on experience in this area and paying very close attention to not only what's being said, but what's being done, both domestically and globally. I'm going to dispense with our disclaimer. We're well beyond that now. I think we're in the final turn here, and I think that we will be in the banks shortly. In my personal opinion, I think this thing is probably going to pop in April. As a matter of fact, I hope it holds off until April, and I'll explain why revaluation late in a month could be problematic for us. But when it occurs, and we'll have to, deal with everything accordingly. So I want to get started and talk first about what President Trump is doing. Because in my humble opinion, if I could point to one thing or one person that is the catalyst to getting all of this done, it would have to be Donald Trump. This thing could have happened a long time ago. It was held up in Iraq. It was held up because of the nonsense of Iran. It was held up because of presidents in this country over the last 15 years for their own political and possibly personal reasons didn't want to see it happen. But President Donald Trump's got the pedal to the metal here, not just with regard to the situation in Iraq, but everything that he does. He wants everything done yesterday. And that's great, unless, of course, you happen to disagree with him. The people that disagree with him are not only running out of arguments, they really sound foolish. But that's what some of this mindless stupidity will do to people. It exposes their mindless stupidity. Trump keeps talking about this new golden age, and that can be ascribed to a lot of things. But when he says new golden age, not first golden age, it means he's referring to a previous golden age. And I've discussed this before. He was talking about a period of time in America, roughly between 1880 and 1910, a period of great wealth for the United States, a period where there was no central bank or Federal Reserve in the United States, a period when the Industrial Revolution was taking off. It was also referred to as the Gilded Age. And what Donald Trump continues to allude to is an end of the IRS, an end of the federal income tax, an end of the Federal Reserve, and a return to a people's constitutional currency pursuant to Article 1, Section 10 of the Constitution, an interest-free currency. A currency that American citizens can exchange for goods and services without having to pay interest on the currency itself. And there are a lot of reasons why such a system was established, and none of them, not one, is a good one. Trump's also talked about the release of certain files that will expose the Washington, D.C. cabal. So the next couple of years are going to be very, very interesting. Half of the nation waits with bated breath for the information. Half of the nation is probably looking for non-extradition countries. When I say the nation, I'm talking about people that are connected to Washington. So to further point out his position, Trump had his his State of the Union speech on March 4th, which is a little bit of a departure from recent speeches. But it is a date that a lot of the early presidential individuals utilized. And it also, ironically, is a date that they began the transition of oil to be exported through SOMO to Turkey and other areas. SOMO is the state organization for marketing oil. So it's kind of funny that these dates kind of dovetail. But there is a lot going on right now, and this golden age thing that Trump keeps repeating can be taken from a number of different angles. There was a book written long ago called The Rise and Fall of the Roman Empire, written by Gibbons. And he cited 3 reasons for the demise of the Roman Empire: open borders, confiscatory taxation, and moral decay. Sound familiar? Because that's the world we've been living in, not just for the last 4 years, but I would argue off and on since the end of World War II. The moral decay issue is the one that we're dealing with now, however, having to do with the destruction of the traditional nuclear family and all societal norms. I think a lot of this is being reversed, and it's being reversed rather quickly. And the only reason I bring all of this stuff up is because the president that's going to ensure that we will all be in the banks exchanging our currency is the president that's going to make sure that this nation is returned to the ethos of its founding. There is also something else going on in Iraq, although it's not stated as such, but it's the implementation of Article 12-2C of the Iraqi budget. It is the reimbursement to the Kurds for the production and distribution of oil, which results in the payment to the citizens who participate in the profits from the sale of the oil. And again, none of this is going to happen at 1310. So, implementation of Article 12-2C, in my opinion, is synonymous with a change in the exchange rate. There's also been some recent meetings which point to the same thing. A meeting, for example, between the Iraqi delegation and the IMF. Then there was a meeting between the United States Treasury, the Federal Reserve, and the CBI of Iraq in Dubai. It's interesting how these government people always manage to find the most opulent locations for their mundane little meetings. But this meeting, however, was not mundane. Again, that's the U.S. Treasury, Federal Reserve, and the CBI of Iraq. Then we have the government of Iraq meeting with K2 and the Wyman Group. Well, who are they? Well, they're global companies and specialize in security to assist with cross-border payments. And then the last meeting was between Soudani himself and Secretary of State Marco Rubio. Now, there's absolutely, positively, unequivocally no reason for these meetings to be taking place if the Iraqi dinar is going to remain at 1310. And the fact that all of these meetings have taken place rather close together recently says to me that we're not going to be at 1310 for very much longer. There's also some monetary reform progress that we can look at directly in Iraq itself. The financial advisor Salih issued a statement saying that the Iraqi banking system has achieved security and stability, meaning that they have finally, 15 years after the fact, accomplished what Governor of the CBI, Shabibi, was on the verge of doing those many years ago. Government of Iraq now holds $110 billion in reserves to include gold, the USD, and foreign securities. I'm just going to take a wild guess, but I'm thinking that one of the foreign currencies that the CBI, the government of Iraq, holding right now might just be the Vietnamese dong. And for those of us that have dong, and I've said this in the past, once the dinar goes, I think the dawn will not be far behind. We now have oil flowing from Kurdistan to Turkey, revenues paid to SOMO, which is the state organization for marketing oil. And where does that money go? The money from SOMO is distributed to the citizens, not at 1310, in my opinion. So all of these things are pointing to what we've all been waiting for a very long time. Now, there's a couple of other issues with regard to the monetary policy as well. The government of Iraq is pushing hard for its citizens to purchase government bonds with the 3-0 notes. Now, why are they so intent on converting the 3-0 notes to government bonds? In my opinion, it's because they want to make sure that those 3-0 notes don't leave the country. Because when the 3-0 notes leave the country, those additional 3 zeros will be recognized for exchange in other countries. The parliament, of course, is still in session even during Ramadan. In my opinion, this is because they're trying to complete their monetary reform before or during the feast of Eid al-Fitr. Now, remember, Ramadan is the 30 days of fasting and prayer, and Eid al-Fitr is the 3-day feast of celebration. And this year it falls from March 30th to April 1st. Now, these are important dates. If you look at IRS or IRC code 988E2, it says that if the profit that you would realize from the exchange of a foreign currency exceeds $200, you must pay the tax. So what they're saying is the taxable event is not the point of exchange. The taxable event is in the increase in value. So if the Iraqi dinar were to revalue prior to April 1st, taxes would be due on April 15th. Now, that's going to be a difficult undertaking, certainly not impossible, but it's a difficult undertaking and one that we'd like to avoid if possible. On the other hand, if the revaluation, even at $1, a new exchange value, were to occur on or after April 1st, then taxes would not be due until July 15th for American citizens. That gives us time to do two things. It allows us to allow the currency to appreciate in value and orchestrate an orderly exchange process. It also allows us more than enough time to compel the IRS to tell us, is the tax cap gain or is it ordinary income? I could argue either case, but we have a shot at long-term cap gain because of the man in the White House. But most likely it's going to be ordinary income. Now, why do I say that we do not think the 3 zeros are going to be an issue outside of the country? The reason I say that is because we know that central banks, international hedge funds, and currency speculators, large currency speculators, are all loading up on dinar. And I think they're doing so because I think they believe, in their opinion as well, that the 3-0 will not be an issue outside of the country for a non-citizen. So everything is pointing to this finally coming to a conclusion. We're rounding the final turn here. Of course, those of us that have been involved in this for a long period of time, there always seems to be a fly in the ointment. But there are just too many important players involved, all working in concert feverishly to get this thing done. The last thing I'll mention is, given all of the international contracts that Iraq has entered into to rebuild their infrastructure and all of the currency swaps they've entered into with other nations, I don't see how the nation state of Iraq can survive. In other words, in my opinion, it would be a failed nation state if they don't get this thing done. And in my humble opinion, and it's just my opinion, I think we're looking at April for the the valuation, the new exchange rate for the Iraqi dinar. Now, having said that, I want to touch briefly, and just briefly, on why we got involved in these calls, and that is because we at Trusts Unlimited have been doing trust work for decades, and there is a situation where establishing a trust is even above and beyond the normal reasons for doing it. I'll touch on all of those reasons. But when you have an asset that you think is going to appreciate substantially in value, it behooves you to transfer that asset out of title to a protective trust before it increases in value. So I want to touch briefly on these reasons. So let's say you hold a substantial amount of dinar. You're of the opinion that it's going to revalue in the near future and that the revaluation will result in a substantial windfall to you personally. So you decide that you're going to protect that wealth prior to its increase in value. And the best way to do that is through the establishment of a package of irrevocable trusts. Sub-S corporations aren't going to do it. LLCs aren't going to do it. Limited family partnerships aren't going to do it. But a package of irrevocable trusts will. So by transferring the currency prior to the revaluation to an irrevocable trust, you will preserve your privacy and your anonymity. No one will know that you possess that wealth and how much wealth is involved. You'll be able to avoid IRS scrutiny because the business activities and the investment of that money occurs within the trust, not with you personally. The trust also allows not only for pre-RV gifting of currencies to family and friends prior to the revaluation, but gifting through the trust means you can actually control the post-RV proceeds for these individuals. And we've been contacted by a number of people who have been hesitant to make gifts precisely because they think the individuals, for whatever reason, are incapable of managing the money. But if it's gifted to them through this trust, there's a special gift sub-trust included in the package, which means you can gift the currency to them, you can avoid the federal gift tax, and you can control the post-RV proceeds. The trust package will also allow your estate to bypass the cost and delay of probate, which keeps the money in the family and out of the public domain, and the trust allows you to avoid the federal estate tax, which can be as much as 65% of an estate in excess of $12 million. Lastly, the trust provides certain asset protection benefits that are unavailable full stop with any other entity other than a trust package of this nature. This trust will allow you to circumvent the Uniform Fraudulent Transfer Act. Very simply put, you had hypothetically 10 million dinar that you paid $10,000 for. You transfer the currencies to the trust, and they subsequently revalue. Let's say for $1, they subsequently revalue for $10 million. Can you be sued for $10 million? No. Why? Because the currencies were only worth $10,000 when you transferred them out of title. Post-RV, there's a protective benefit called segregation of assets, which protects you after you've acquired this wealth. Very simply, all of your physical assets, homes, cars, boats, etc., are each placed in their own separate subtrust. So if any one of those assets ever gets involved in litigation, it's only that asset that would be involved because the other assets are in separate subtrusts, which under the law are separate entities not involved in the litigation. In other words, the trust works like a commercial barge where all of the valuable cargo is stored in a series of small compartments. So if any compartment is ever breached, only the cargo in that one compartment suffers destruction. The cargo in the other compartments is safe and secure due to the firewalls. Now, this trust package is an initial package of 10 trusts, which consists of one master trust that will hold pre-RV currencies prior to the revaluation, financial assets like bank accounts and investment accounts post-RV, and it manages all the sub-trusts that will hold homes, cars, boats, etc. You can always add additional sub-trusts if needed, and they too will be protected and managed by the master trust, which again holds financial assets. Now, this was the simplification of a rather sophisticated trust package that we utilized in the past for more affluent clients, package that had an initial cost of anywhere from $6,000 to $10,000. But by simplifying the package, we've been able to reduce the cost to $3,000. Pay us up front, we'll discount the price further to $2,500. If that's not possible, we have even a deferred payment arrangement. Make an initial payment of $525 and then pay the balance of the $3,000 in $100 monthly installments. But we will work with you in whatever method works best for you. Our objective is to help you get your affairs in order and your trust in place prior to the revaluation of these currencies for all of the reasons that I've stated. You must remember, once the currencies revalue, once you've gone to the bank and done your exchange, when you walk out of that bank, irrespective of what your net worth was when you walk into that bank, you're going to walk out as a wealthy person. And under our system of civil procedure, it's when you hold assets in direct title that you can lose control of them or lose them outright. Things can and do go wrong from time to time in your life, and they need to be dealt with. Things like unexpected divorce, permanent incapacitation, the onset of dementia, premature death, and prolonged and complicated probate processes. Then there are, of course, investment losses, business losses, and even bankruptcies. There's also identity theft. So the only way that you can manage, protect, and control everything at all times and in all circumstances is through the establishment of your package of irrevocable trusts. And we at Trusts Unlimited will do everything we can to help you accomplish your personal and financial objectives both pre and post-RV, with the understanding that after you walk out of that bank, everything in your life is going to change. So I'm going to go ahead and go to Q&A here. If I have any. Before I take any questions, if the things we've discussed are of interest to you, I strongly suggest you contact us to get our initial no-obligation package. You're under absolutely no obligation by doing so. You can review the package, contact us if you have any questions, and we'll be happy to assist you. But if you decide to proceed with the establishment of your trust package, which in my opinion is a very wise thing to do, everything you need is included in the package. You can contact us by email. Our email address is trusts with an S, unlimited LLC at gmail.com. That's trusts with an S, unlimited LLC at gmail.com. Or you can contact us by phone. Our phone service is 307-274-4122. That's 307-274-4122. Okay, we got a bunch of people in the queue here. Just 1 second. There was one other thing I wanted to mention. Let me see if I want to. Now, I think I'll hold off on that till next week, Thursday next week. Our first call is from area code 615. That's 615. Go ahead.
Hi, Jim. Just a quick question.
Sure.
Does this trust contain a trigger clause in the event of some of those unforeseen circumstances that you were mentioning?
Well, what do you mean by trigger clause?
Well, where it could be transferred offshore.
Oh, yeah, you mean, yeah, yes. I didn't want to get into the details of the trust, but the best state for protection against litigation, in our opinion, is Wyoming. The way this trust is established is anyone ever filed any litigation against you and or the trust is retroactively redomiciled in Wyoming, which means that this individual would have to go to Wyoming through a Wyoming court to initiate litigation. So that is the protection that's in the trust. Now, it doesn't matter what state you live in. It doesn't matter what country you live in. But if litigation is established, or even the threat of litigation, once again, the trust is retroactively redomiciled to Wyoming, which provides the best asset protection available in the United States, period, full stop.
Thank you.
Certainly. Our next caller is area code 347. That's 347. Go ahead.
Yes, from New York. Okay, with this Gaza war restarting, you think that's gonna impede the Iraqi revaluation?
No, not at all. Don't think it has any effect whatsoever. If Iran wanted to stop what's going on, they would have done so. They're simply not in a position to do it. And as a matter of fact, Iran's been put on notice that if they expect the rial to ever increase in value, they're going to have to honor their the necessity to treat their neighbors with respect. So I don't see it being a problem at all.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Certainly. Our next caller is area code 702. That's 702. Go ahead.
Hi, Jim. This is Todd from Texas. Hey,
yes.
First of all, thanks for all you do, man. All the information and guidance is very helpful. Hey, I have a couple questions. If you can give me a call back after this, I think I may have missed a page for notarization, and I'm in another state than my trustee is, so I may have to fly back there and get some paperwork done.
Or overnight it. It's a little cheaper to do that. Let me write your phone number down here, and I'll give you a call when we're done, okay?
Okay.
If this is the number you want me to call, right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I'll give you a call after this call. All right?
All right. Great. Thank you.
Okay, Todd. Sure. Bye-bye. Our next caller is area code 301. That's 301. Go ahead.
Hi, Jim. It's Larry from Maryland.
Yes,
two
sir.
questions. One, if the Vietnamese dong revalues, is it going to be a similar or simpler process as what is happening with the dinar? Would they be changing, for instance, the face of the notes? Would they have different denominations, or we would just go in and trade the current cash that we have?
Yeah. It should be the exact same protocol as the Iraqi dinar. You take the currency to the bank, exchange it for the rate that's available at that time.
And are we expecting different denominations, or it just would revalue? So, say you had 100 dong, whatever face value.
Right.
There's no worry about it.
If you have 1,000,000 dong and the dong's worth $1, you should theoretically get $1 million for it.
Okay. Second question, if I would like to change the address on the trust, is that a simple thing to do? Do I call you back?
You don't even have to tell us. You can do it yourself. You can go to the page that has the address and just go ahead and amend that page, correct address. You can even do it in the margin if you want. It's not a major issue. It's not like you're changing the trustee or you're eliminating certain beneficiaries or things like that. It's pretty much perfunctory. You just change the address.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Sure. Okay. Our next caller is area code 509. That's 509. Go ahead.
Hey, Jim. This is Art on the left coast, Washington State.
Sir.
How are you today? Another great day, huh? Getting closer and closer.
Yeah, I'm getting blown up over here is what's happening.
Oh, I can imagine. I'll make this as quick as I can.
Okay.
I understand there's 10 sub-trusts, and one of them, of course, is the gift sub-trust. Now, personal property. How do you handle personal property? Anything in the house, lawnmowers, all this other. You have to identify that, and then
what you would do is this. Let's say you had 2 homes, 2 cars. You call us and you say, okay, I want to set up sub-trust. Let's start with your home. So I have a home on, I'm just going to make something up, Target Boulevard. So I want to create the Target Boulevard sub-trust. We create the sub-trust and you assign, you'll have the paperwork, so you will assign the physical address of that home to the sub-trust, and that sub-trust, that home will be in that sub-trust. The second home, let's say it's a vacation home on, I don't know, some beach somewhere. So let's say it's Folly Beach outside of Charleston, which is a place I like to go. So you create the Folly beach house subtrust, and you put that in the subtrust, and they're each protected within their own subtrust.
Okay, I got that. And the question, though, is regarding personal property, wife's wedding rings, jewelry, lawnmowers.
You could create a personal miscellaneous property subtrust. I, for example, I'm a guitarist. I have a rather large guitar collection, and I'm creating a subtrust just for the guitar collection. So, yeah, you can do stuff like that. You can have itemized individual items in one trust. We have individuals that have coin collections, stamp collections, things like that. You can place them in trust as well.
Okay, would you have to identify, as far as, personal property, there's, big screen TVs, refrigerators, all this information.
Well, you could say things like any and all electronic devices, any and all television. You could do it that way. Some people like to, meticulously itemize. Some people want to do generalizations. In the example I gave you, I could do it both ways. I could say any guitars in my possession, or I could say the five. I'm going to itemize because I've got some. I've even got a guitar that Jimi Hendrix once played that I bought from someone.
Wow.
So I'm going to identify. I know. So I'm going to, yeah. I pull it out, but I ain't no Jimi Hendrix. But
is that in Fort Knox now?
Yeah, right. No, well, it's actually probably pretty valuable. I never really investigated. It's not, it's not the kind of thing, Well, I've got some good friends and relatives that are actually better guitar players than me, so I'll let them play. Yeah.
Okay, you mentioned earlier, the previous caller about the, wow, this is frustrating, in that my wife and I went to the bank to have our gift subtrust. Well, no,
don't. There's no need to go to the bank. Let me say this to everybody: do not waste your time at the banks. You go to the bank with your currencies, and you go to the bank.
I understand.
Yeah. But you're talking about sub. If you read the exchange protocol, if you have a trust, we say don't take any of the subtrusts, any of the gift subtrusts with you. Don't let them know it exists. Don't do any of that. The only thing you will do with your currencies is you will go to the bank. You will set up a trust bank account for the master trust for the currencies. And then once those currencies are liquid and you can take them out of the bank, then you take everything else with you. We call it the Jed Clampett effect. Once they know that you're going to move your $25 million out of their bank, if they start giving you a bunch of jazz about page 347 of their rule book, then they're going to throw the rule book in the trash can where it belongs, and they're going to do business with you. So one step at a time. You should have received something called the exchange protocol if you have a trust. Right. Read that carefully.
Okay. What I mentioned, reason why I mentioned the bank is that where we've gone to have notary done. Okay, and so we took the page.
Well, that's fine. Yeah, that's
but they
not
refused. Well, the problem is they refuse to sign it because they don't know. They're ignorant, stupid idiots.
My God, we purchased currencies. We did without. A lot of people did without in order to purchase the currencies. We've been waiting all of these years. Now our ship has come in, and now some guy in a cubicle is saying, well, no, walk out of that bank. Do not waste your time with that bank.
Right. Well, that's where we ended up doing that. But that's,
Don't even argue with them. Just thank you for your time. Get the hell out.
The biggest problem with that is that they don't understand that the only thing they're verifying is the signature and that I am who I am and my wife is who she says she is. That's all they're signing. That's all they're notarizing.
Yeah, well, I know that.
You know what's inside.
Yeah, I know that. I'm just saying, it's not worth it. It's not. Just walk out. They're idiots. Just walk out. All right?
Yep, got it.
Okay.
Bye, man. Take you kindly. God bless you, sir.
All right. You too. Bye-bye. Next caller is area code 210. That's 210. Go ahead.
Hey, Jim. It's Ted in Texas.
Yes, sir.
On everything we do as far as adding on our subtrust. In other words, if we add something to our subtrust, we need to contact you and get you to put it in as a name.
Not necessarily. Okay. You might want to contact us and say, hey, I'm doing X, Y, or Z, and we may say, well, you can do it yourself doing this, or we need to produce this document. So, it's on the fly there. Just contact us if you're doing anything. As an example, if you have in your subtrust a coin collection, you don't need to call us or amend the thing because you purchase more coins. They'll be included. If it's specific items, that might be different. So if you're not sure, just contact us, and we'll be happy to direct you.
Okay. As far as a rental property, the same way, get a rental property and just contact you and let us know what it is.
Yeah. So if you're purchasing a rental property, you contact us and say, hey, I'm going to purchase this property. I'm closing on such and such a date. I want the subtrust prepared so that when I go to closing, the owner is the subtrust of which I'm the beneficiary.
Okay. And then if I use all my subtrust up, need new ones, just call you and let you know I need a
call or email us and just tell us what's going on, and then we'll get back to you and tell you what we need to do.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Certainly. Okay. Take care. Bye-bye now. Our next caller is area code, let's see, 301. That's 301. Go ahead, 301.
Hey, Jim. This is Marilyn here.
Yes.
So when we speaking of subtrusts and revaluing the dinar, so if I don't have any property, or I have the property that I'm living in, does that go into the subtrust? And
well, if you
once the reval and I want to buy property or houses, how would that go?
Okay. You go to the bank, you do your exchange, you go home, you have all this money in your trust bank account. Well, the first thing you want to do is get as much money as possible out of the bank and into investment accounts. But at that point, you're also going to assess, this is what I own, what do I want to keep, what do I want to sell, and then what do I want to buy? The things you want to keep, if you have a home or a car or physical asset you want to keep, you want to place that in a subtrust. As you begin to purchase other items, so let's say you're going to buy a home, I just discussed this before, and you've got a closing in 5 weeks, you contact us so we can prepare the subtrust so that when you go to closing, the home can be transferred at the point of sale to the subtrust. So, again, reassess what you have, sell or give away what you don't want to keep, and then the rest of it gets disseminated into the very subtrust within your new trust. Okay?
Okay, and that's the same with gifts.
Well, if you mean gifting currency?
Gifting currency or setting up gifts for underage children.
Oh, okay. Well, you could set up accounts and trusts for children, too. If you're doing, a lot of people, rather than give friends and family currencies, have made the decision they're just going to give them an income stream post-RV. If you're doing that, then you need to contact us, and we'll talk about the options you have on how to do that.
Okay. All right.
All right.
So I'll send you an email on that.
Okay. Okay. You take care.
All right. Thanks.
All right.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Okay. Our next caller is area code 405. That's 405. Go ahead.
Hi, Jim. This is Doug in Oklahoma City.
Yes, sir.
I have a scenario or a hypothetical. I just want to get some clarity on this. The hypothetical is you take a vacation to Mexico and you change your money into Mexican pesos, and for sake of simplicity, it's 1 peso for $1. You come home, you spent all your money, and you look and you have 1,000 pesos in your wallet. And you put them in a little box or container in your chest of drawers and you let it sit there. Sometime later, the economy of the Mexican government improves. The exchange rate on the Forex slowly moves up to $2 for every peso, and you go, oh, I've got 1,000 pesos in there. I'm going to go change this in. So when you walk in the bank and you make an exchange, obviously the exchange value increase is more than $200. So you're obligated to pay the tax on the gain. Why is this different than with the Iraqi dinar in that? Because that's exactly what I've done in the past. Went to France, came back, had French francs. The French franc had appreciated against the U.S. dollar. We went in and we changed it. And we had, I think, a $500 or $600 gain on it. But there was no indication that there was any penalty or consequence for holding those a year or so after the appreciated date. So can you help me understand that? Why that applies to that, but not to the dinar?
Because we're not talking about making $200,000, $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 on the exchange, which is people have a small taxable events that they don't declare all the time, and the IRS is in the business of doing that. But when you're talking about the exchange of a currency, which could be the single largest leverage in history, I can't think of another situation where you could make. I mean, the downside is negligible. The upside is unlimited. So if you purchased 1 million dinar for $920 and 12 years later exchanged it for 3.5 million, I can assure you you're going to have a conversation with the IRS because the bank is going to withhold the tax if you don't, or they're going to contact you and say, you know, you need to take care of this, or we're going to have to, you know, the IRS is going to want to know what's going on here. So I think it might be the dumbest thing a person could do is to purchase dinar for chump change, sit on it for 15 years, exchange it for a windfall, and then not pay the tax. Because the tax is probably going to be 39.6, add the 5% millionaire surtax, that's 44.6. The penalty with the IRS is 100% plus interest. You might actually end up owing the IRS money, and you end up with nothing. So the difference is the amount of money that's involved and the penalties you're going to face if you don't pay the tax.
Is there a threshold of some kind that basically shifts the dynamic of the interpretation of the law?
I mean, I'm not aware of it. I mean, there's people have argued that the profit from the exchange of the Iraqi dinar should be cap gain. They cite sections, I think it's 463A and B of the Internal Revenue Code and Publication 525. Although I think it was the IRS versus Caterpillar, where they say you cannot rely on what's in the publications. You must go to the code, and if the code's not clear, it's left up to the IRS. I think an argument can be made that it's long-term cap gain, but if, as an example, if let's say the revaluation were to happen on March 30th, taxes would be due on April 15th, so you'd have no choice but to pay your ordinary income tax and then file for a refund citing sections of the code and publications which suggests that it's cap gain. If, on the other hand, the revaluation were to happen on April 1st, taxes wouldn't be due until July 15th, which means we could petition the IRS before any tax is due to ascertain if it's ordinary income or cap gain. So that's where we find ourselves. But if it happens before April 1st, you got to pay the ordinary income tax. You're going to lose time and money on a refund, but that's worse. That's better than losing everything. If it's ordinary income, you didn't pay the income tax.
I guess the clarification I was looking for was not necessarily the division between taxable rates, but the interpretation of what is the threshold of value that basically compels this exchange to become a quarterly event, a quarterly requirement versus, say, in the year.
1099 earnings are quarterly. It's 1099 earnings.
Oh.
That's got it?
And will the 1099 be issued by the bank?
I'm trying to remember. I was involved in the Kuwaiti dinar, and it was nothing like the Iraqi dinar, but it was a lot of money. And I'll be honest with you, I can't remember. But that was like 32 years ago. So, oh my God, it was half my age.
But you do believe that there will be a 1099 declaration of some kind someplace? Unless we have to produce it for ourselves, maybe?
Yeah, exactly. I wouldn't count on anybody to do it. Let me say, the worst thing we could do is play any games with the tax. Go call your tax people. If you're not satisfied with them, find some big shot guy that deals with wealthy individuals. Confirm that it's 1099, which I think. Why wouldn't it be? It's certainly not W-2. 1099. Pay the tax. If you're not sure if it's ordinary income or cap gain, you pay the ordinary income, file for a refund. Do not underpay the tax with this kind of money.
This wouldn't be too much dissimilar from basically having a great gain, say, in the stock market. I mean, as an example, if you have a stock...
Not necessarily, because if you've held a stock for a long time and then it pops for whatever reason, that's still a long-term cap gain. You know that. You know how long you've held that stock. You know whether it's ordinary income or cap gain. But we're not entirely sure with the. In my opinion, I think they're going to call it ordinary income. In my opinion.
So, from the perspective of, say, you have a large increase in the valuation of your stock portfolio, those are called unrealized gains.
Unrealized cap gains. Unrealized cap
gains,
unless it was within a year, and that's where most of them are.
Right, and so from that perspective, you say, okay, it went up really well, but I'm going to hold on to it because I think it's going to go up higher. So, are you liable for the value of?
No, because a stock is different than the currency. The tax on the gain in the stock is payable when you sell the stock at a profit. That's not the case with the currency. The tax on the currency is based on the value of the currency at the end of the quarter, period. Let's say you had 10 million dinar that you bought for $10,000, and now it's worth, this quarter it's worth $10 million, and you don't exchange it on the theory that, well, if it's cap gain, I'm taxed at the point of exchange. Well, if it's ordinary income tax, the tax is due on the increase in value, whether you changed it or not. So what I'm saying is if we have a reval at the end of a quarter, we have to pay the tax by April 15th. If the IRS can't, we have to go to the bank, we have to do the exchange, we have to have the liquidity. We have no choice but to pay the ordinary income tax and file for a refund with the hope that they're going to treat it as cap gain and we'll get a refund. But if we don't pay the tax, and it's due, we're basically, if it's ordinary income and we don't pay the tax, we're screwed. That's the bottom line.
So a summation of the differential between the exchanges of these two investments is that the currency investment is not classified in the same arena, if you will, as, say, stock, Coca-Cola stock, something like that.
Right.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Because I did what you did. I went to a very reputable asset management firm, and even went to the next higher level. and they were trying to get the most precise interpretation of the tax code, i.e. 988, et cetera, and all the ones you mentioned. And they were talking about taxation at point of exchange. And I kept saying, are you sure? Are you sure? And so I guess that my question back to them after this conversation is going to be, have you considered the differential between the classification of the investment, currency versus ordinary stock or something of that nature? I mean, would this
well,
be
let's put it this way. When people are involved in currency arbitrage, that is trying to invest in two different currencies to take advantage, make a profit on the spread. It's ordinary income, okay? If they can't tell you absolutely positively it's cap gain, then you have to assume it's ordinary income. I wish we knew, but if we have a revaluation late in the quarter, we're stuck. Now, and I have to say this because no one's going to come back on me and say, Jim said didn't pay the tax or Jim says cap gain. No, Jim's saying that unless the IRS tells you otherwise, it's ordinary income, period.
No.
No, it's the same.
Same.
Do you know what it is?
I'll tell you when I get it. So, how would this differentiate from holding gold or silver?
Well, gold or silver is a capital asset. Gold or silver is a capital asset. If you sell it, then you owe the gain on. You have to pay the tax on the gain. If you held the silver for 5 minutes, it's ordinary income or it's short-term cap gain. If you held it for 5 years, it's long-term cap gain. But we don't know that's the case with currencies. All right.
Okay, so they're not. That's a very good point. Is an investment in a currency considered a capital investment, a capital asset? Excuse me.
Yeah.
Correct. Very good.
That's right. And we don't. There's an argument can be made on both sides, but if it's ordinary income and you don't pay it, you're screwed. I can't make it any more plainer than that. I don't doubt it. I was put into a little bit of a fog by the answers I got back from these well-heeled companies, and I thought that does not gel with what I've been hearing for the last 15 years. You go back to them and ask them how much dinar they're holding, and they'll look at you like you have three heads. Okay, right. We're doing something that's just. This is beyond anything that they've been involved in. It just is.
Okay. Well, good information. Thank you. Have a great week.
Sure. You too, Doug. And by the way, Doug, as I recall, you have a little bit of dong, don't you?
Yes, sir. We have a little bit of dong.
Well, yeah. So you might be doubly blessed this year.
I hope so. I have never counted. I mean, to be honest, September 19th of this year will be the 20th anniversary of our first purchase of dinars.
Wow.
So it's been a long, long time. And we then, got involved with the dong, but I never put the dong on the same tier as the dinar. And so it was always as if, it was so cheap. Oh my goodness!
I was going to say, but you paid nothing. You paid literally nothing for it. I know.
Yeah. I think it's around 20,000 dong to the dollar now, 23,000, something like that. And anyway, it's so cheap, and so we bought some dong, but I never put that on the same hope level as we did.
I agree.
With the dinar. It's just that hope deferred has been a long time with the dinar.
Yes. Well, things are happening in Vietnam, so the timing is looking good. But anyway, listen, I got to roll. I got a bunch of people here.
Yeah.
You take care, Doug. All right. Bye now. Our next caller is area code, let's see. Wait a minute. No, we don't have a lot. These people are rolling out on me. Oh, here we go. Area code 619. That's 619. Go ahead. 619, are you there? Well, I think we've lost a bunch of callers here. Okay, I don't know what happened there. All right, let me see. How about area code 804? That's 804. Go ahead.
Good afternoon. How you doing, Jim?
Okay. How are you doing, my friend?
Good. My name is Randall. I'm from Virginia.
Yes,
so,
sir.
I wanted to know. I'm really waiting for all the. I just bought some dong. I'm a late player. I just bought some last few, not dong, dinar the last few months. I got a nice piece of it. So the thing I was wondering is, are you going to have, or are you going to wait till the money goes up before you give us some information on like what banks you think we should go to and how we should handle it? Not or what you would do. I put it like that because you can't give financial advice.
We would do once the dinar hits. We have been in contact with banks, but a lot of them give us a little bit of jazz because the dinar is still in a program rate. But the split second the dinar hits the Forex, I think these banks are going to be calling us, and I'm basically going to ask them how they're going to treat our clients when they walk in with our trust. Are we going to get the best street rate available? Are they going to have any other bells and whistles? And what's going to be exchange transaction fee going to be? We're going to ask those questions and try to disseminate that. As I've said on the calls, though, I know that most of our people will be running to the bank with their hair on fire. Understandably, I get it. But we will do our best to get some basic information, probably end up with about 3 banks with different deals, because not every bank's going to be that close to certain individuals, and some people do have health issues and travel issues and all of that. But we will do our best to get some basic information out about what to expect depending upon what bank you go to.
So I've done some research on banks that do currencies and banks that hold people who have large income, like millions and millions of dollars. Chase, J.P. Morgan, all the big ones.
Yes.
That could do those transactions. And I just was trying to get prepared, so when it comes time to exchange that currency, I'll know where to go and how to get it.
Well, one thing people can do that if they're really interested and concerned about the various banks and how they'll treat people is call the banks about a currency that they do exchange that's not in a program rate, and ask them about what the rate is, what the transaction fees are, what the turnaround time for liquidity. You can ask, do that hypothetically with, just tell them you hold a certain currency and compare banks, and you could do it that way if you want. That'd probably give you a good indication of what to expect with the dinar.
Okay, that sounds good.
Right.
I just knew you said you were going to have one of your shows and you were going to talk about it. I just didn't want to miss it, and I wanted to be well informed when I go to the bank.
As long I can't get any information from a bank on a currency and a program rate. But if I call them and I say who we are, and I say if they're hesitant to give me information, I say, I'll tell you what, check us out, and once they check us out that we're legit, we are who we say we are, and we have the client base and all that, then they're going to be wanting to do their dog and pony show for us. So, well, like I said, and understandably, a lot of people will go to the bank, not necessarily to exchange all of their currency, but they may want to just clean up some things, and maybe even take a little bit lesser rate immediately to just, simplify their life. And everyone's going in a different direction for different reasons, and, it is what it is, All right? Okay, sir.
Yep. Jim, thank you so much. You enjoy the rest of your day, sir, and we'll talk to you soon.
You too, Randall. Take care. Bye-bye now.
All right, bye.
Okay, just one sec here. I don't know who this is that keeps calling me over and over again, but let me just write this number down while it's still up there. Let me see. Okay. All right, our next caller here is, and I think this is our last caller, if I'm not mistaken, is 785. That's 785. Go ahead.
Hey, Jim. I was going to kind of just dovetail on the gentleman about the tax. I got a question about that and then another one. But on the tax, okay, currency is traded every day and people make a small profit on currencies every day. I guess my question is, why isn't there something that distinguishes already whether it's ordinary or cap gain?
Well, IRS publication 525 does refer to the profit from the exchange as cap gain. But I mentioned it earlier, USA versus Caterpillar in their ruling basically said you cannot rely on the Rev ruling. The IRS reserves the right to rescind that or change it on the fly. So that's why I keep saying we have to assume ordinary income and hope for the best.
It just seems okay. So when you was involved in the in '92 or when the you don't recall what it was then, and is it different now?
I believe it was ordinary income.
Okay. Now, next question is this. I know that you kind of press the idea that you need to get your money out of the bank after the revaluation and into other assets. Okay, my question is this. Let's just say, hypothetically, you had, after the revaluation, you had $10 million in the bank. All right. The process to get that $10 million for most of us into tangible assets is going to take some time. All right, it might take, 2-5 years in order to transition that money out, depending on, your opportunity. But the final question is this. You need to have that's your liquid asset to have access to everyday funds to buy stuff with, like, drawing money out every month to meet your bills. So the question is this. If you had $10 million, per se, what would you think, even after you have eventually got your tangible assets that you think out of that $10 million transferred to tangible assets, would you leave $2 million in there for every day?
Me personally, not that much. I'd probably leave the most. I'd probably leave would be maybe somewhere between $250,000 and $500,000 out of $10 million. The rest of that money would be at work in the market, in mutual funds, in unit investment trusts, and direct investment in real estate. The reason I would invest in real estate is because I've done my exchange. I got $10 million there. $9,900,000 of it's taxable. So I want to offset the tax. How do I do that? I want to buy assets that depreciate. I want to buy real estate, things of that nature. I could, have depreciation. I could have upkeep and refurbishing, all the things I could do. I would also, if I was going to set up if I want to make any charitable gifts, I'd make those too. So if I was an individual, irrespective of your investment acumen or your net worth or any of that, if I had currencies and I expect them to revalue and I had a pretty conservative number of what I think they would be worth, I'd be at work right now thinking about how, investments and legitimate deductions to offset the gain. Because while you're giving up the liquidity initially by doing some of these things, long term you're keeping the asset because once you give it to the IRS, it's gone.
Okay, so, you just made the comment that 990,000 or
9,900,000. Yeah.
It is sitting there taxable. Explain. Can you clarify? I don't understand that.
Well, if I have $10 million and it's sitting in a bank, it's liquid, and the chump change interest I'm getting is taxable. But
okay, I got you. That's what I thought.
But if that's the net amount, but what I'm saying is, let's say that you actually grossed $20 million. Well, I would already have things in place to reduce the tax, so it wouldn't be liquid money. but it would be I would still have, once you give it to the IRS, it's gone. So
right.
If it's gone forever, why not put in something that I can't touch for 5 or 10 years? At least it'll be there as opposed to gone forever. So that's a separate discussion we will have when the dinar hits a 4X.
Okay. One last quick question in regards to that. All right. If I understand the strategy to get it out of there from the tax standpoint, but the reason I asked how much you'd leave in there is if you deplete yourself of liquid asset, then an opportunity comes along.
I agree.
You don't have enough liquid.
There is no set answer. Everyone's different. How about a guy that's widowed versus a guy that's got a wife and 7 kids? I mean, everyone's situation's different. Everyone's risk tolerance is different. Everyone's investment knowledge is different. Everyone's other businesses and entities affect their gross overall tax situation. So everyone did the same thing. They established a trust. They assigned the currencies to the trust. They follow this. After the dinar hits the 4X, everyone's going in a different direction.
Okay, Jim, thank you.
And I can't give you there's no one size fits all at that point.
Well,
Fair
I
enough?
guess what I'm saying to you is that even if you only had let's just say $500,000 left of that $10 million in the bank, and an opportunity to come by that you needed more than that $500,000 left in there, you would financially, you're so sound, you could get the money to buy that other investment tomorrow.
Well, you'd also use if you're using the money to purchase real estate, you have collateral. If you need money, liquidity right away, you can get loans. So there's all
Exactly.
You have options. You have options. All right.
Thank you.
Certainly. You take care. Okay, that was our last caller for this afternoon. Again, thanks so much for taking the time to listen to this call. The things we've discussed are informative. I certainly hope you'll contact us to get our initial no-obligation package. It has everything you need if you wish to proceed, but again, you're under no obligation to do so. It has a lot of information about us, about the trust, the currencies, and pre- and post-RV information as well. You can contact us by phone or email. Our email address is trusts with an S, unlimited LLC @gmail.com. That's trusts with an S, unlimited LLC @gmail.com, or our phone service 307-274-4122. That's 307-274-4122. Contact us by email or phone. We'll be happy to get our initial package out to you. It does contain my personal phone number if you need to call me for any questions. We'll be happy to assist you as quickly as we can. It is taking a little longer now because we're getting slammed, understandably, right now, but we will do everything we can to help you get your affairs in order and your trust in place before this thing happens. Our next call is scheduled for next Wednesday. Certainly, if something of a dramatic nature happens between now and then, we'll try to get out an emergency email and schedule an emergency conference call. But failing that, we'll be back next Wednesday, noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. Thanks so much for listening. Have a great week. May God bless.